I don't know. Sometimes it's hard, but try and you make it. Believe you lead. In order to achieve, go forth and take it. Set yourself free. But obstacles in your way, you may fall before you rise. But if you really want good, your nose up and run. So get up and keep your eyes on the prize. So as part of your plan, you feel of ambition, and the Almighty One as your foundation. Hey, nobody get rich and rich because that's definitely wrong. Now, don't forget your friends and where you come from if you achieve.
Greetings, everyone. Good evening to everybody. Please come right on into the room. I am super excited to be back in life class space this evening. Happy Wellness Wednesday to all of you. And please, as you're making your way into the room, get comfy. As per usual, grab your water, grab your tea, grab your wine, grab whatever you drink, and let's get prepared for another stimulating, warm, relatable, and impactful conversation in the JN Thrive Together Life Class series. Many of you will remember this face. I am your host. I'm Kamala McWhinney. I am an associate clinical psychologist and a JN member, and I'm excited to be back for this special 3-part edition of Life Class, where we'll be talking about the virus and the vaccine, dispelling the myths of COVID-19. So this evening's conversation is very important for us as we're navigating a pandemic and as we are working towards building up our relationships, managing our relationships, especially now when there are so many polarized views out there as it relates to vaccination and so many other things. So welcome again, everybody. It's good to see familiar names popping into the chat. And for this evening's conversation, I have some amazing guests. But first, let me share screen. Let me ask my tech team to share screen just to give you an overview of how it is that we're going to be navigating the space. A quick reminder for you all as it relates to our housekeeping matters. So remember now, we have on screen, you'll see the chat box. That's where you can put all your good vibes emojis, all your comments. And then we have the raise hand feature. At certain points in the conversation this evening, I'll be inviting as many people as we have time for to come on microphone to ask their questions of our expert guests. And then beside that, if you look on the toolbar, you will see our Q&A box that is specifically for questions that you would like for our panelists to respond to. So specifically for questions, all right? Now let me get into who we have with us this evening. I'm excited to welcome onto the life class stage, Cordel, Skatta, Burrell. Welcome to the space, Skatta. How are you doing this evening?
Present, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much and the JN group. I mean, this is a very serious topic and I welcome a conversation such as this, Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks so much for saying yes, Skatta. And then we also have joining Skatta, Dr. Princeton Brown, who is a medical doctor, as well as a core member of the COVID-19 response team with the MOH. Welcome, Dr. Brown, and how are you doing this evening?
Thank you very much for having me. I am elated to be here and actually looking forward to sharing with everyone on this live this afternoon. My pleasure.
Great, thank you so much. So we have a lot of doctors. So another doctor for our conversation that you will see later this evening is Dr. Sheree Chin. She's an oncologist and she'll be helping us talk in our second segment about cancer and COVID, specifically about breast cancer, since it is Pinktober. So we have to put in something to support the women and the families who are managing breast cancer right now. Dr. Chin, how you do?
Hi, I am well. Thank you, Kamala. Thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to an exciting conversation to deal with all our important issues. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right in the midst of COVID and vaccination. So we have a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. And Dr. Chin came representing the pink, and I'm here for it, right? Thank you for that, Dr. Chin. We also have yet another doctor. This is Dr. Jason Copeland. Welcome to the space, Doc. He's an oncologist also, and will be joining us for our second segment. Greetings, Doc. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, good night. I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to a good talk.
Thanks for saying yes when we asked you to come, Dr. Copeland. We appreciate
Most
it.
welcome.
And to round out our amazing panelists this evening, we have Janelle Barnaby. I'm so excited to have Janelle on. She just completed chemotherapy for breast cancer. Janelle, how are you feeling? How are you doing on this Wellness Wednesday?
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's great being here. Happy to be alive, I must say. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to, be in the conversation here
Yes,
tonight.
an important conversation. So we're going to be both celebrating with Janelle this evening, as well as asking her to share her story so that we can, one, inspire other members of our family who are going through breast cancer or any other type of cancer, but also draw on Dr. Chin and Dr. Copeland to give us some real practical resources, tools, and information to navigate cancer and COVID. That combination is a whole lot. So thank you all. We're going to be keeping Skatta and Dr. Brown on stage, and we're going to be saying until later to Drs. Chin, Copeland, and to Janelle Barnaby. Yeah? No, Life Class family, I see you blowing up the chat as per usual. Thank you for bringing your good energy back to Life Class. I'm happy to see all of you. And we're going to be having a conversation this evening that we want to be respectful. We want to ground it in respect. We want to ground it in empathy. And we want to ground it as much as possible in the spirit of sharing so that we can all make the good decisions that serve us and our families better. All right. So remember, we have giveaways, right? So if there's anybody who you want this evening to hear the conversation, but also to win something nice, we do have gift certificates for Amazon shopping. So please call up your friend, tell them the Life Class is back on and they can't afford to miss this one. And listen carefully because the things you hear might be posed back to you in question format. All right. So let's get right into it. To start our conversation this evening, we're going to talk to Skatta. Now, Skatta, you had the unfortunate experience of going through COVID-19 live and direct. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I want you to kind of walk us through, Skatta, what your thoughts and your views were about COVID, before you encountered it personally, and then how have your views changed since then?
Well, I reflect on what was it? Say February 2020, when I first saw people talking more about this virus from China. We were in the middle of, because we're into show promotions as well. So we planned Reggae Sumfest months ahead, and we were in the process of planning this event and booking the artists and so forth. And I handled marketing and promotions, and I was in the middle of signing off on my contract to do the job, And the question was raised about, what about this virus coming in from China? It looks like it's taking over the world. How is that going to affect the show? And I was the first one to dispel those rumors. How dare you introduce that in the middle of me negotiating my duties to get paid, So I had to fight tooth and nails for like 4 to 5 weeks trying to shut down COVID. I didn't even want to validate it because I just wanted to get paid. So I wasn't taking it serious at all up until probably late March, when it was decided, no, we're not going to do this thing because it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. Up until then, I don't think it had touched the shores of Jamaica. I am not sure about the dates, but I know that in March, sometime it got very serious when the first person we heard contracted COVID here. And then it was like a crazy, everyone got really worried, And that is when I was saying, wow, this looked like it's going to be a crazy year, By then, I had ruled out earning any money off a show production that year. And I had to turn back and look back at my other business and say, okay, I need to set this in place because I think my income is going to go down. I wasn't thinking nothing about health, catching no virus or nothing. I am just thinking, we have to survive, we have to pay bills, I have people looking out for me, and I don't want to mess with my lifestyle. So I'm just thinking how I'm going to stay afloat.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you put measures in place and you see how hard it's getting for people, and you start having empathy because you're seeing that a lot of people are being late. No one is going to work. By that time, we were in like an extreme shutdown. No one working. And we were thinking, it was an entire year. We did giveaways and so forth. And at no point in time was I thinking that I am going to contract no COVID. We went to Montego Bay, we hand out care packages and so forth. That's what my company does. You know, they do a lot of that stuff. And, and it took 9 months of that up until 2022, you know, before I realized that I actually got sick. Now, leading up to getting sick, I was out. I was hanging out and having drinks and liming and so forth. Kind of wearing the mask under the chin, of course. You know, still going about my daily activities. I was traveling a lot because I said I'm going to seize this opportunity when there's not much happening to sow some seed. You know, I was trying a lot and doing a lot, trying to make the most of the situation. Yeah. And it was fine. I did a ton of COVID tests. I was fine. I thought I was immune, you know. And then leading up to probably 8 weeks ago now, I did not feel well on a particular day. In the afternoon, in the evening. And I didn't take note of it. I thought I was just tired. I woke up numerous times throughout the night, not feeling any better. And then I got up in the morning and then I went to have breakfast with my business partner. And at breakfast, I'm not listening to anything he's saying because I'm wondering to myself, why am I feeling like this? This should have passed by now, you know? So I went to the office and I stood in the sun for about 10 minutes because I understand what vitamin does for the system, you know? So I stand and I look up in the sun and trying to soak in as much as possible, but the sun made me feel worse, you know? So I ended up going home. I said, I can't do this. I went home and I tell my girl, if I don't feel well, so wake me up at 12 and I go back to work. Tried to sleep, I slept a little bit. Close to 12, I get up and can't move. Feeling very weak, restless, tired, and temperature going up and down. And she said, I wonder if it's COVID you have. Jovial, man, you know?
What was your response to that, Skatta?
I was about to laugh it off, but then I realized that I've been feeling this way from yesterday, you know? And it's not getting any better. And then I said, wow. And then she said, I think you need to get tested. And I said, all right, I won't leave for the rest of the day. And I will, because I have a good doctor, I call him and he will come. So I said, I'll ask Dr. Wilson to come by. And throughout that entire time, it dawned on me, I really may have, because I know people who have caught it before, you know. I don't know anyone who has been like dire afflicted to any serious fashion. So I didn't expect that to be me, you know. I said, okay, let me see how my metabolism handle this thing now. This is a challenge for me now, because I'm saying, I try to eat well. I exercise a lot. At that time, I took like 2 months from exercising, but I didn't think it would be a problem. And then, you know, come on, I don't really go in at the dairy thing and so forth. So I'm supposed to go, I'm only drink, I'm a smoke, and everybody allowed to look about it, you know? So I say, me a man, me eat a whole heap of strong food and so forth. That now gonna mash me up. Although I feel that way, you know, but it's a 1 day, 2 day thing. The doctor came the next day, as I said, I wake up in the morning and I never feel good at all. The doctor came the very next day, which was Wednesday, and he tested me. And in a matter of seconds, he looked and held up the thing and said, this is a very strong positive. Very strong, but it didn't take no time for it to show up. I was like, wow. And my girlfriend was looking at me, so where are you going to get COVID now? What is going on, you know? And then I was saying, wow, this is serious. So he explained what I needed to do, a lot of protocols and so forth, social distancing within the home, and he recommended all the vitamins. He gave me a long list of stuff that I can get. I had my questions. I asked him about certain products like the bush and, you know, those type of things. What you call those type of things now? I don't want to get in it, but the herbal stuff, you know?
Natural remedies, yeah.
Natural, yes, I was more keen on the natural remedies, you know?
Because, yeah.
Yeah. So he said, well, you can do this, you can do that. And then, okay, the doctor left. I sent my beer to get the stuff. Call up. We have a chat group. I sent out a message in the group that, listen, I have just tested COVID, positive for COVID. I think you guys need to get tested because I work with you. You're my coworkers. They didn't believe. So I had to send them a screenshot of the thing and took a picture of the doctor actually in my house, and him covered up and looking very serious. And they all were shocked. And I said, wow, you know, I think a few of them got tested as well. So people started sending the messages now like, steam, they must say for steam, you know, the doctors them. Everybody turned doctor in a COVID. I know so much doctors spring up for. because everybody seemed to have the solution.
The remedy.
And the remedies. And I'm telling you, I got so many instructions. Do this and you will kick that away in no time.
Mhm.
I'm here to tell you, I do almost everything. And the more I do it, is the more COVID was beating me down.
Wow.
So I realized that as a typical Jamaican man, we are not immune to this thing, no way, no shape or form, you know? So I decided that, okay, I need to face reality now and dispel all the rumors and all of these stuff. This thing is real. Yes. So how am I going to handle this now? So I stopped listening to people. That's the first thing. I listened to the doctor, called him up, and he said, the first 8 days, this is the most tricky ones. If you pass those 8 days, it's better for you. So I said, fine. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And I was counting down the seconds just to reach the 8 days. And I'm telling you, it got worse every single day because every day was a test. It's like I got to experience one of the effects of COVID, the symptoms that they speak about, you know? When you experience the chills, and then you experience the high temperature, and then you can't smell, you can't taste, you know, and you're eating food and it just tastes insipid. You don't want to eat nothing. You know, I never drink cup soup in like years, and I draw for cup soup and I drink it, and I drink the first one and that helped me. But after that, I look at the whole carton of cup soup that the bear brought for me, and I just felt sick seeing it. You know, the only thing I was able to drink was like bush tea. I kept on drinking the bush tea and so forth. I couldn't eat. I got breakfast and I ate one finger of banana for the entire day.
Wow.
You know?
It's had significantly cut.
And no matter how I tried, I could not get the food past my throat. I do not know what was going on with my body. You know, if I was supposed to eat to survive, I don't think I would have made it, you know? Nothing tastes good. And the worst part of it now, what came the shortness of breath. I was having it, small spasms and so forth, but I remember getting up at probably 2:30 a.m. in the morning. By then, my girlfriend was all over me. She was not adhering to the rules. And by the way, she caught it. I live with her and her sister. She caught it, and her sister caught it as well. And in no time, I woke up one night, probably on the 7th day, at 2:30 in the morning, in the living room, because I couldn't stay in the room no more. I was going crazy. And I woke up coughing and unable to breathe. And every time I cough, is the more my lungs tightening up and I can't get no air in. And I cough and I can't breathe, but the cough won't go away. And she was there just sitting in front of me, bewildered and looking very stressed out and almost crying because I couldn't breathe. And I telling her, I can't breathe. And coughing at the same time, you know?
I can imagine the stress of that, because right there, your life must have been like
Yes.
you're wondering, were you wondering at that point?
That was the worst episode of the shortness of breath I've ever experienced. I don't know how asthmatic people survive, you know? And I couldn't breathe. And I'm saying, this shouldn't be happening. I'm not a sickly person. Why COVID I deal with me like this? And I started thinking on so many things about family and, you know, the stuff them that I initiate that has not materialized yet. And I said, I can't do this because I don't want to go to the hospital and be a burden, because I see people a few months ago, like a month and a half before that, I had a cousin who was a victim of a shooting. And he struggled through like 3 operations. They had to take his intestines out and all of these things. And he struggled to recuperate, but COVID got him in all of that process. And that's what took his life. You know, I went to the hospital and I visited him and I saw the strain on the medical industry. I saw people in rooms, the ones who were privileged to be in a room by themselves. I saw them in there and no one can come around them, no interaction whatsoever. I didn't want that to be me. you know?
Let me tell you something. What you went through is like hearing you tell it
Yes.
day by day, hour by hour. I feel like I'm sitting and just
Yes.
getting front row seats to what you went through.
I'm
And
telling
especially the piece about the
Yes.
difficulty breathing, that
Yes.
part get me because I mean, there are some times now when I'm struggling myself with shortness of breath. So I can just
Yes.
imagine what that felt like. I want to stick one pin and
Yes.
bring in Dr. Brown, because when you were talking certain parts about the man part, and I saw Dr. Brown laughing. Dr. Brown, please introduce us to your journey now. And then we'll bring back Skatta to talk about how his views may have shifted or not since having a direct relationship interaction with COVID.
Hi, good evening again, everybody.
Even,
Pleasure to be here. And Mr. Burrell, I actually could definitely relate to you because I was actually a victim of this virus recently as well. Sadly, I contracted COVID twice, which is one of the myths that once you caught it before, you can no longer contract it again. So I can definitely relate to Mr. Burrell's experience. And I hope, Mr. Burrell, that you're not vaccinated, right?
Not as yet.
All right,
I got my doctor told me that I don't need to rush to get vaccinated. He said I could wait like 2-3 months to get my system. Yes.
Which is true. In your case, then see that you're just recovering from that virus. It is recommended that you take some time for the immune system to reach back its normal capacity before you go ahead and get vaccinated.
Yes.
All right, so segueing straight really actually into the vaccines. Now, it has split the entire world. Now there are talks of persons called anti-vaxxers. Vaxxers, it is now a big thing all across the world. It's not only in Jamaica. As in, what is this vaccine? Why are we going to take it? The benefit, how the
I see Doc's connection has frozen a little bit there. So as soon as he comes back in, we'll get his story. But Skatta, just lead us now into, how your views perhaps have changed and how people have responded to your story, because not everybody, I imagine, is welcoming, right?
Well, you know how Jamaicans are. I got tagged as an agent of the system because I went online and I was sharing my story and encouraging my fellow Jamaicans. It starts with the community. I was encouraging everyone to take this serious. Doc is back, I don't
know what's happening there, but am I back now?
Yes, hearing you.
Yeah, that's good. So as I'm saying, so the world is split with this vaccine.
And Doc is frozen again.
Yeah.
Our internet providers, yes, Skatta. So talk us through now.
I got pegged as an agent of the system, and I'm telling you, it's the first. I have been against a lot of stuff and been vocal on a lot of issues, and I have had naysayers in my comment sections before, but this one really touched me to the core because I was really issuing out a warning just to say, take this thing serious. At no time was I encouraging no one to go get the job or whatever. I'm just saying this thing is real and it kills, And I've been down that path before and I got a lot of name calling mostly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Skatta.
I was unable to convey the message fully because of the naysayers, but there came a time when I just stopped reading the comments and just addressed my situation. And I was applauded for it by a lot of people came in my DM and said, thank you. You enlightened me so much because they know me as a person. I would never come and try to sell anything. So it came across as credible to most persons, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad that I was able to share my story and just imparting a lot of people have just taken it serious. And then I went further on another post to say, the choice is yours. If you want to get vaccinated, it is no one else's. It's a personal choice, just like deciding to have a kid or whatever. All of these things are personal choices and no one should be bullied into making such an important decision for their safety, And until we Jamaicans understand that we will never overstep, we have to be respectful of people's decisions that they make for their own personal lives.
And, Skatta, I see a comment here from Shireen Joe, and Shireen says, thank you for your courage. Another person said, we need more public figures like these gentlemen, to be the voice by sharing their stories. So there are members in the JN group right now, in the JN family, who also are appreciative of your share. So thank you for that.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks. And I must say, I was very adamant against the vaccine itself. Because my son was born 2 years ago, and I didn't get him vaccinated. Because so I am not pro-vaccine. Because I didn't want. I've heard rumors of autism and so forth. I don't know, but I said, okay, I'll wait until he's older for him to get his shots. Just as a precaution. So I'm not a fan of vaccine. I have not been vaccinated yet, but I acknowledge that I've done enough research to know that even if you have the vaccine and you catch COVID, it takes you away from the critical moments. And that's what I mean. He's a strain of the system.
And that's what you're defending. That's what we're all hopeful for as it relates to, one extra layer of protection for all of us, Thank you so much for that. Dr. CEO, you've gone through some difficulties and some struggles with the internet provider.
Well, I do not know exactly what is happening with my provider at this moment. I don't understand. Am I being seen now? Am I okay?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Right. I'll have to change. Yes, I was saying quickly before, sadly, is that Mr. Burrell, you have done the research on the vaccine, but some of the myths of the vaccine is that it affects. It goes into your own cells and it affects your own cells. Now, how these vaccines were made, first of all, persons are saying that it was done too quickly. But I say that if over the years making vaccines, if nothing has been learned over that time, to shorten the time it takes to put something where we need it, then all that knowledge beforehand would have been gone to waste. So the time period is short, yes, but these are specialists who over the years have seen the ways how to make those previous vaccines. And so in this situation, they could expedite the process. Now, let me just break down the simplest form how these vaccines work. Now, different types work in different ways. Moderna and the Pfizer work in such a way in which they take a part of the virus, actually itself, and how should they reverse it to get the recipe which makes the virus. Now, they coat this in a layer, and this is what they inject into you. Now, when this is injected into you, that recipe which makes the virus in your cell, since that's a recipe, your cell will use that recipe and basically make proteins, which it will now present to the body, and the body will say, hey, this is new. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make some antibodies now to fight this. So it is not the actual virus which is injected into us. So this is important. Because in other vaccines, the actual virus or a latent form or a form that won't make you sick is what's injected into you. But for this now, they put basically the recipe, and the body is what the term they call it is translate, which means manufacture out of that recipe the virus that you have. Now, when the body sees this virus, it can make antibodies to it, which now in future, should this virus enter you, the system already knows exactly what to equip it with, and the antibodies are there to fight.
So,
right?
so that right there, because we're following it very closely. I remember we have giveaways, hint, right? So tell me something now. You're saying that the Moderna and the Pfizer, it's not the actual virus that is used to make the vaccine. It is the recipe, so to speak.
The recipe is called mRNA, and that is what you use. So that's the terminology. So that is what is used, and it's injected into you. And your own cell use this basic recipe and create basically a replication of the virus in your body, which your body will then recognize as something that is backward and make antibodies to fight. All right. Now, one of the myths is that they inject chimpanzee DNA and they inject, animals into you. And some of these are stemming from some area of truth, but you have to know fact to separate it from fiction. Now, the AstraZeneca vaccine, they basically use, as I said, the same recipe But what they use to put in the body is a different virus called the adenovirus, which they actually take truthfully from chimpanzees. But the body will have no reaction. So before vaccines are made, they have to go through different phases. You have the preclinical phase and about 3 different phases where it's tested on animals, then it's tested on a small population, then it's tested on a larger population, before it's tested on a mass population. This population includes different ethnicities as varied as possible to truly limit the population of the world. So it goes through all those phases before it's recommended to be rolled out to use on human beings. So the AstraZeneca is one in which the same recipe, because the recipe cannot just go directly to the body. It needs a medium in which to go through. So the Moderna and the Pfizer use basically what they call a fat layer, wrap it around, and send it in. And the AstraZeneca uses a different form of virus, which is in its core to enter into the body. And then the same process starts in which the body uses that recipe to make basically a replica of virus. And then it can use its own host defense to make soldiers that will work against that. So some of the things that I wanted to make sure is clear in the fact is some myths that I had some points put down. One is women tell me, and it's women are parties that say that it affects their menstrual cycle. Men say it affects their fertility. As of yesterday, when I did my last reading, there was no scientific evidence that it affects fertility in men. And I know as Jamaican men, we are big on our fertility and our stamina. There's no evidence there. Now, there is some anecdotal evidence as in it affects menstrual cycles in women. So it does make delay, it makes it heavier, but this results in nothing that will last in this one, and nothing that will last for a shorter period of time. But there is some anecdotal evidence that happens. Now, it's becoming very more prominent now to give vaccines for children. This is actually quite a such a topic. So the question is, do children need vaccines? Now, the different strains and the variants that have emerged, it is found that children are actually becoming susceptible to some of these variants. And so therefore, to give and confer maximum protection, it's recommended that children as well get vaccines.
And is there an age range that's recommended at this stage, Doc? Is there an age range of children that it's recommended for, safe for? What's the window?
Well, 12 to 15 is what the last research has shown. 12 to 15 is a period. They have not been given to children under the age of 12 as yet. But new technology will be developed, new research is done. So this is a dynamic process. As I tell you, there are approximately only 3 persons in the world who have seen a pandemic last time. So the majority of us, it is new for us. There's only 3 persons alive who've seen it. And so we're all learning together. There are specialists who have studied their whole lives for this. And this is an opportunity for them to put that study into actual work. That's one thing. Now, the other thing that I want to dispel is after the vaccine, I saw persons at the vaccination site. Got the vaccine, I just came out and they threw off the mask. Now, vaccines can do one of 2 things. They can prevent disease, they can prevent infection. COVID vaccines do not prevent infection. The thing you try to do is to prevent the high burden of disease so that you don't end up in a situation in ICU or in a need where you need serious medical care. So that's what it prevents. So infection is still very, very much possible, even after you're fully vaccinated.
So Doc, stick a pin right here, because sometimes we have a little glitch in your audio. I just want to be underscoring the important points as we're going along. So we want to make this big point, Skatta, and everybody on Life Class this evening, that vaccination at this stage does not prevent people from contracting COVID. It's not a fix-all.
It does.
What it does is to reduce the burden of the illness on the system. So as Skatta was saying, that if he were vaccinated, right, prior to contracting COVID, then he wouldn't have that immense, that severity of symptoms. Correct, Doc?
I agree.
Which is true.
Okay.
Which is true. The other point I would like to make clear is that persons think that because you have contracted the virus, you don't need a vaccine. Now, the virus itself actually does give you some immunity. It does, that's true. But what the vaccine does is give you a super immunity, because the antibodies produced by this is tenfold what your body would have produced at the vaccine. So you do get some immunity. That is true. I mean, you would be lying of me to say that you offer doing. But my thing is, what is you want the maximum immunity from something as deadly as this? And so this is where the vaccine comes in. So those are some of the few things I definitely want to spell for anybody who's hearing those things that I hear on the ground.
And I see Skatta leaning in, attentively listening and processing, because Skatta making decision already.
Well, I am supposed to be vaccinated because I have to travel, and I am not going to be a martyr for no belief or conspiracy theory. You know, if America is closed to unvaccinated persons, I have to get vaccinated because I have a family to provide for. I have stuff to do to move on in life, this life that I have, you know. So I intend to get vaccinated. So I need to hear the doctor's opinion on which, if he is vaccinated, and which one of the
vaccines. I'm fully vaccinated, yes, I have.
Which one of the vaccines would you recommend, like just to stay as safe as possible and at the same time effective?
All right, well, so the Moderna and the Pfizer are actually, they confer the highest efficacy as we stand right now. Yes. And so that's the recommendation. I was vaccinated with AstraZeneca because I did that from the beginning. But currently, the maximum efficacy is conferred to the Pfizer and Moderna. So if you have preferences, you know, I recommend those. But the important thing is to get some vaccine.
To get the job. Yeah. And Doc, I love the way how you frame it, because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of fear, and they feel like the system is telling lies to push an agenda. So I love the honesty. Life Class is all about having honest conversation. What we're saying is we do not have 100% prevention right now being given by vaccination, but it definitely gives us an extra, or maybe a couple extra layers of protection in case we do get the virus. Yes. And given what we're seeing in terms of the burden on the healthcare system, and you know, that people are sharing, you and Skatta are testaments of the immense physical challenges that the virus brings whenever you do get it, then I think the vaccine definitely, you know, is valuable in that regard.
Yeah. I agree completely, I do.
So Doc, we already have a question in our box for you. It said, the person says, based on the severity of the allergic response to the first dose of AstraZeneca vaccine, my doctor advised me not to take that or any other COVID vaccine. What provision is there for persons like me from the MOH to help me navigate the system? Is there some kind of exemption card? Do I need to get a medical certificate is the question.
All right, so let me just get this clear. You got the first shot and you had severe allergic reaction to it. That's what happened. And so on her doctor's recommendation, she was advised not to proceed and confer full immunity. All right? That's
take the other.
Question. And so she's now asking, is there an exemption card that would prevent her? I am not aware of an official exemption card. However, there are serious allergic reactions to any vaccine. That's true. And if this person suffers from same allergic reactions can actually be life-threatening. And so if she has the doctor's letter, if she has something written in a medical report that says that this is what happened, and this is the case, then therefore an exemption in that case would have to be facilitated, because here the risk would outweigh the benefit, as she would be prone to a life-threatening condition, as in an allergic reaction. So she would have to speak directly to the doctor. She's a dialogue for her to get to the report to proceed with the case. But yeah, that would be my best advice in this scenario.
Thank you for that, Doc. I also want to respond to the issue of which vaccines are currently available, because you mentioned Moderna, you mentioned Pfizer, and you also mentioned the AstraZeneca, right? Coming from, you are a key member, right, of the response team. What vaccines are currently available? If people want to go out this week, into this weekend, to get their job and protect themselves and their families, which vaccines are currently available to the best of your knowledge?
The AstraZeneca and the Pfizer are currently available still. However, due to the rapid uptake of the Pfizer, they had to scaled down, saving the second dose for persons who haven't been vaccinated at all as yet. So the current ones that are available, we have in Jamaica, we have a limited amount of the Pfizer. And I'm not certain if we have the Johnson. I'm not certain, but I saw there was some on the island there. But the Pfizer, that's what I'm concerned we have here.
Okay. And here's a very good question. Skatta, this is relevant to your decision as well, from Marie. Marie says, what is the minimum time for taking the vaccine for those who have contracted COVID? Is there, a very clear outlined, recommendation for such persons?
Well, after contracting, after contracting the virus, now what we use recommendation 6 weeks after is the minimum time that we use. So 6 weeks is a good time thereafter for you to then consider getting the vaccine after you have healed or recovered from the actual disease process itself. So 6 weeks is what we use currently.
So 6 weeks. Okay. And then, Doc, especially while we're going to be going to the next segment, I know other questions will come in for you specifically. So if it's possible, when we take the break from this segment, if you could switch to another device, because some of the audio
I will do that.
Yes. But before we go there, Skatta, you had something to jump in with? You had a question?
Well, he made reference to the vaccines that are available here. I'm just wondering if there's any look on the horizon for the Pfizer, which most people are running towards. I would say if he has any information of it being more available in the near future. For instance, those who don't have a visa to go to America pretty soon who can go, if they say, I will wait on the Pfizer, will it come for them to be able to get vaccinated?
Well, so actually now the Pfizer is coming. So the order that needs to be made depends on what is used here, honestly, because we don't want it to be waste. So it's supply and demand, actually, and that is the issue. So there have been plans to source more Pfizer as to help with uptake, as it is the brand, so-called the populace, they prefer. But the important thing is real truthfully. They come from what's safe. So people may have a liking or an inclination to one or the other.
Okay.
What we can get here, the advice is what we have here to go ahead and take it.
Okay.
Doc, I have another question in our chat box that I'd love to get feedback from. Some people have a concern and are confused about why are we calling it a vaccine if according to the question asker, if essentially it isn't. Because according to the question, and generally speaking, true vaccines provide immunity to a particular infectious disease. That's one. And the other piece, which I'm not clear on, is what's the point of a vaccine that doesn't prevent an infection? So that, that wasn't the part. The other part was, why isn't early intervention being discussed or encouraged? So multi-part question, Doc, I'm throwing it at you.
Sure, so the first part is why are we calling it a vaccine? And it's actually not. Well, it is a vaccine because what it does promote immunity. So when it enters the system, the body will produce antibodies to it. And that's the basis of the whole purpose of how a vaccine is. So that's why it is a vaccine. It's not the traditional sense of a vaccine in which we would usually use.
So Doc, your audio just completely failed just now. I didn't hear. Oh, you're muted. You just muted yourself, I think, by accident, Doc. Go ahead.
All right. Are you guys hearing me now? I see that the audio is poor, but I'm just going to try to switch to another device. I'm saying it is a vaccine in the sense that it actually does promote immunity and defense in the body. So it is right to be called a vaccine in that sense. The other part of the question was, why is it that we are promoting a vaccine if it doesn't prevent infection? Well, vaccines serve two purposes, I'm saying, infection prevention and disease prevention. Now, you can become infected and actually have truthfully no symptoms, you can become infected and actually do not develop the disease. So infection at this point is not what we're really truly trying to fight. What we're trying to fight is a disease process, and then the impact it will have, one, you on an individual, and two, as a community. So the purpose of this vaccine is disease prevention and not so much infection prevention. So that is the reason why. So the purpose, as I said, is to prevent disease and not infection in and of itself. Right? And the third part of the question, I do not remember clearly what it was. Just
the third part is, why isn't early intervention being discussed or encouraged?
Early intervention in the sense as what? I'm not too sure I understand.
That's the part I was saying I wasn't clear on myself. So maybe if the asker can just go back into the Q&A.
Sure.
They have to respond. Yeah. Another one for you, Doc, that came in. Several, Doc, you have your hands, your work cut out for you today. Another question is, for me, the person said, for me, I normally feel pain when I'm on my menstrual. When I took the vaccine, I felt no pain until my last period. I got the Pfizer and I'm fully vaccinated as of the 14th of July. My previous menstruation was hell. So at one point, I was wondering if the vaccine had anything to do with it. And I think you touched on it earlier, but if you could just, respond.
Well, no problem. So other viruses, actually, in fact, the flu virus and other viruses have been shown to have some effect on the woman's menstrual cycle. This being a virus as well, and this having the same characteristics of the virus, anecdotally, there has been no scientific evidence, but it is something that we can repeat. And based on data extrapolated from how other viruses operate, it can have some impact on the woman's menstrual cycle, in that it can delay, it can bring forward, it can make it heavier or less. So if she did experience some changes in her menstrual cycle, it truly could have been attributed to the vaccine or to her being infected with the virus in and of itself. But as I said before, it should not be something that lasts very long. It should be quite self-limited. So I don't think she's still having that problem. I hope not.
Okay. And Marvelyn Campbell asked, I had a very severe COVID-19 infection. And she says, I think while she was hospitalized, she had one shot of a vaccine. She needs to take the other. So I think that's bringing up the issue of, has she gotten the conferred immunity from the virus, and does she need to continue on the vaccine?
No. So in order to give the full efficacy of the vaccine, you need both shots. Because when the antibodies are produced over time, those antibodies, the amount of the body weighs, it declines. And so you need to have those antibodies at a higher level again. And that's why the thought process now is that boosters are now coming into play, because we really don't know how long these.
Doc, I think you might have muted yourself again. You're muted. Just go ahead and unmute, Doc. Yes, you're unmuted now.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're hearing you, Doc. Go ahead.
Yes. So as I'm saying, there's antibodies last. So they want to keep the antibodies number at peak amount in the body. And so therefore the booster shots is now coming on play. So yes, I would advise for her to still get the second shot, even though she had the virus and I got the first shot of whichever vaccine that was given to her.
Got it. All right, Doc, another one for you, fast and furious. Vivine says persons were vaccinated in August with the Pfizer and should have been given the second dose from September, but none such is here. How long can you wait before receiving the second dose? And I've heard this from even friends of mine who took it because of the delays in landing, etc. They're concerned about that time period passing. How can they proceed?
Yeah, so we have actually up to 3 months, for you to get a second shot. So if it comes in that time, then sure, go ahead. But if it doesn't, if the truth and the fact it doesn't, as we have no control over that, when it still comes, the second shot will still be given. But for maximum, to confer maximum immunity, that's the time period. 3 months would be the time that is recommended for them to get
Got it. And then Doc, coming back to even the first question from our Q&A box about the allergic response, I see a comment here in the box as well about persons just having a general sense of fear because of how they typically have allergic reactions to other medications. So, I mean, how do we proceed if it is that we have sensitive systems, for example?
All right. But to be honest, you can have an allergic reaction to almost anything, right? People have allergic reaction to something as simple as Panadol, right? And so what is happening now is that if you have an allergic reaction immediately after, we can do something about it. Understood? We can treat it as allergic phenomena at that moment, right? But you won't know unless you go ahead. And I can understand therefore where the fear would come into play. Understand? But as I'm saying, the benefits here definitely outweigh the risk there. And so if you're not severely compromised, if you are not allergic to needles or have some severe hyperallergenic phenomena, therefore go ahead and get it. And if you do have a mild allergic reaction, which is expected, we can definitely do something about that.
Okay. Yes. There was another part to that first question, Doc, about some of the side effects, including blood clots, etc. Do you have any specific information to guide us? Because some people feel as though that's part of what is contributing to, their fears and their suspicions, because some of these side effects are kind of being hushed in some people's perceptions. What would you say to those persons who are concerned?
Let me just test the audio. Are you hearing me clearly, Ms. Moderator?
Yes, we're hearing you.
We're hearing you, yes. I think you're frozen though. Go again. Doc?
Am I being seen and heard? Am I being seen and heard?
You're good now.
Go ahead.
Proceed, Doc. We're hearing you and seeing you.
All right, so I believe I heard.
And as soon as we say it's Skatta.
The COVID don't want us to hear what.
Let me just reboot it. Apologies for these technical errors. Let me just reboot and come back.
All right, no problem. So Skatta, while Doc is getting everything sorted out, right?
Yes.
While you went through this harrowing experience, Skatta, what did support look like for you? And what are some of the lessons? Because we in life class, so if we talk about life lessons, what are some of the lessons that you're taking out of your experience?
Yes.
And what are some of the elements of support that you thank God for and you want to recommend to other people, who maybe.
I am grateful for my immediate support, which was my woman and her sister. They both did what they could for me. Even they put themselves at great risk, which I did not approve of one bit, but they did everything to make me feel as comfortable as I minimally could, and then it is just for to know that you have life, and it should be appreciated, the oxygen, the air we breathe. Because after going through that episode where I was unable to breathe, I have a lot more appreciation for the air that is there. Yes. That's very simple thing like that we take for granted. And then I am so cognizant and show a lot of empathy for other individuals who may be terminally ill as well and do not have the end result as greater that will affect them as I did. You have people who are terminally ill and they are going through procedures and it does not look positive as for them, So when I look at, I had a good chance to survive this compared to those who don't have a good chance to survive cancer, diabetes, and all those things. It makes you have to take life serious and your health and be grateful for a thing called health and strength.
Yes.
You have eyes to see, you can hear, you can walk, you don't hurt on the inside. Because when people hurting on the inside, you can't touch it and just, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate this so much and everyone around me and the family and the co-workers. I love them and you just want the world to be a better place. But I see people just trying to cause the division and every time I see the naysayers come, because everyone has a right to their opinion, but to create mayhem in this country when I am not planning to run away and go live anywhere else. The people who are trying to create an uprising and mayhem, they're not doing nothing good for this country, you know, because there's a lot of stuff that they're supposed to create mayhem about the crime and the violence, and they're not, but they have strength for this COVID thing that is affecting everybody, you know, and as soon as it comes and knocking at their door, they're not coming out and say, I was wrong. They're just staying quiet. And the hypocrisy is unreal, especially in the entertainment business. A lot of them go through the COVID and they're forbid to come out and say, listen, I was wrong for beating this drum against this thing so hard. Whatever you guys have to do to protect yourself, please go ahead and do it. No one is saying that.
Yeah, because Skatta, that takes humility. And that takes vulnerability, and that's not the easiest thing to do. And that's why you have so many commendations in the chat. You know, what if amen, Skatta, right? I agree with you, Skatta. So true, because it really takes a big person, that's even as a big man, whatever your gender or identity, to come out and say, you know what, me did think so, but when we look into it, that it wasn't right. No. And so that's one of the lessons Skatta is already framing for us from Life Class this evening, that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to grow. It's okay for our views to evolve.
It's okay to say, I don't know.
Yes. And it's also important to have what Skatta has been saying from the get-go, empathy. We don't always have to agree, but there's something which have been proven to be foundation for protecting community, protecting those who are vulnerable and so on. You know? Dr. Brown, how you stay?
Are you hearing me?
Sounds very clear.
Louder and clearer.
Wow. All right. I had to go back for some old technology, but seems to be working better now.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
But Doc, a couple more questions came in while you were getting sorted.
Not a problem.
Shania says, can I take the vaccine if I have fibroids? And another person says, what about if we have circulation problems? Because
fibroids is a yes. Circulation problem is a yes. It's a yes.
Okay.
SLE is a yes. Asthma is a yes. Hypertension, diabetes, yes and yes. You can still go ahead and have the vaccines with those chronic illnesses.
Okay, excellent. Doc, in closing off this segment in a short while, right? I would like to hear from you as a member of the medical profession, right? As somebody who went through the journey before. What would you say to everybody who's listening who may be vaccine hesitant? What finally would you say to us to consider seriously on our way to making that decision?
So let me be extremely honest. When we had 300 to 500 cases, everybody was in a frenzy. Everybody was, do not touch me. You know, everybody was like high alert. Now we have thousands of cases, and everybody seems to forget that this is still killing people. COVID here is a great leveling disease. It doesn't matter how much money you have. I've seen persons with a whole lot of money. If there's no oxygen in the island, you can't buy oxygen. There's so much and no more you can do with money. So it doesn't matter if you're in the upper echelons or the lower echelons of society. This will affect you. And the truth is, it is killing. It is really killing. I work on a ward where, truthfully, there are at least 2 deaths every single week. And this is just what I am seeing. And so it is killing. So my thing is, if somebody's offering you the slightest chance of prevention from the extremities of this disease, why not take it? I mean, if you're falling out of an airplane and somebody throws you a bag and says, look, I'm not sure if this is a parachute, but it could be a parachute. Every single person would grab the bag just at the hope that it could save your lives. So this is costing lives. So my thing is, if we can do something about it, and this is the only thing that we ask of you to do, because the healthcare society is doing all they can, hours on end with limited resources. And we're asking you to do this small part to do it. Please put away the fears, get the information. I have no problem sharing, and ignorance will facilitate fear, and ignorance will facilitate doubts. So that's okay. But get information from sources that are validated. not your WhatsApp status, not your Instagram, not some videos that go through Facebook, because everybody in the social age have their own opinions and they're going to give you stuff. And what will happen is that you will have one-off experiences of certain things. And that is the truth. But these one-off experiences are not the norm, people. And so you will hear it and they will publicize and they will maximize these one-off experiences. And you believe that this is the norm. But it is not. Millions of persons are vaccinated. We're not dead yet. We haven't grown tails as yet. And so if there is something that you can do to make our world go back to normal, I'm just asking in the CG to do it as quickly as you can. Everybody is entitled to their own rights and to their own freedom. But I'm asking you to use this freedom responsibly and do something to help us. So my final thoughts is people are dying. My grandmother always says, if we don't cause life, we don't cause nothing. But this is costing lives. So it is costing something. So go ahead and do your little part.
Doc, thank you so much for the heartfelt expressions. And I have work for you even after I tell you said that's going to be the last thing. But
No
someone
problem
has
at
a
all.
burning question in the Q&A box. Someone says, I have taken the first dose of my AstraZeneca last month. However, I have found out that I am pregnant. My next vaccine is due early next month. My doctor is not sure if pregnant mothers can get the AstraZeneca. What would you advise, Doc?
This is one of the few questions I'm not really sure. When it comes down to the pregnant woman, I tend to leave it for the obstetrician and gynecologist specialist, as there are two persons in one. So to be honest, I am not sure of the current recommendations with pregnant women. I could look into the data and advise further, but at this current point, I'm not sure. So I'd advise to speak to the obstetrician and gynecologist on that matter and see what is the best advice to do in that situation. If it's
Doc, I think you're muted again. No, you're not muted. Doc, we're not hearing you. Seeing that you're talking, but not hearing you. I'm not sure if there's a short in your connection. No, not hearing. But go again. Definitely agreeing with that. In these times, we have to seek out experts, especially if a matter is so sensitive. Right, Skatta? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So definitely. So Doc, thank you. Don't go anywhere because questions piling in as we speak. We're going to jump over though to the segue a little bit into the piece about breast cancer and cancer in general and COVID. Because as Skatta was mentioning that he has no renewed empathy or increased empathy for persons with comorbidities. He was healthy and strong, right? And it popped him down as much as it did. So we have to create space to talk about those persons who have those comorbidities. And Skatta, also consider, how much risk we could potentially be exposing them to by our actions or our lack of actions as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Cordel, Skatta, Burrell. Big up yourself. You're coming like a strong coach evening.
Yes, man, I'm putting on back the weight. I'm trying to eat better, but I'm so happy to be alive. I'm just enjoying life and eating up a lot of stuff. I need to start exercising harder. I'm working on it, but it's a new lease on life.
Problem.
Yeah, it's a new lease on life, and I am very grateful and happy and just trying to get everybody together. And it's just one Jamaica. It's a small island. I don't know why we can't coexist and make this thing work,
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And Skatta, don't go anywhere again because we have more for you to chime in with towards the end. So we're going to just invite Janelle Barnaby, Dr. Jason Copeland, who's an oncologist, as well as Dr. Sheree Chin to come on stage, as it were. And then we are going to have another piece of our conversation for Life Class. But before we do that, we have a giveaway because it's JN Life Class. And as we know in this space, hashtag JN Cares. So as I'm waiting to see the fabulous faces of Janelle, Dr. Jason, and Dr. Sheree, hi there. Let me pull up my question, right? So we have an Amazon gift card from the JN family for the first person who can accurately drop in the chat the name of one of the two vaccines that Doc said has the highest level of efficacy. Any one of them, correctly spelled. Oh Lord. So tech team, I hand that over to you. Everybody wants to shop on Amazon like myself, right? So tech team, go for it. And we'll announce the winner as soon as our team has a chance to start through the 155 comments in the chat right now. Yeah. But welcome to the stage again, Dr. Chain, Dr. Copeland, and Janelle Barnaby. Thank you again. We want to talk about Pinktober. We want to talk about cancer and breast cancer, and specifically about cancer and COVID. So first of all, I'm going to ask Dr. Jason to kind of take us to school a little bit this evening. Give us an overview for those persons who might not know. What are some of the signs, the symptoms of breast cancer in particular? And then I'm going to ask you to also tell us that as it relates to prostate cancer, because I know that that's one of the leading causes of cancer, or one of the leading cancers affecting our men here in Jamaica. So, Doc?
Hi, good evening again, Kamala, and good evening to everyone assembled here tonight. I really enjoyed the talk, the preceding segment, Skatta Burrell, that was, very enlightening, and I thank him so much for sharing his experiences. And also to Dr. Brown, so many questions, and he did a wonderful job.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm a breast surgical oncologist, so most of what I see are women with breast cancer. Now, I would just say up front that men do get breast cancer as well. Now, it's roughly 100 times less likely in men than it is in women. But when men do get breast cancer, it's oftentimes more advanced, and the outcome in terms of prognosis is often worse. So I'll just say that up front, because you're not going to speak too much about men with breast cancer afterwards.
Right.
With respect to symptoms, perhaps the most important thing to recognize about breast cancer is that very early on, there are no symptoms. Now, we speak about something called a sojourn time for breast cancer, which is the time when the cancer is in the breast, but it is not clinically apparent. You can't feel it, there are no signs. And that's roughly about, in most cases, average about 18 months. So you can have a cancer in the breast for almost 2 years without you having any clinical signs. So early in breast cancer, there are no signs. Most women, well over 90-95% in our population, will present with a lump in the breast or a lump under the armpit, which are enlarged lymph nodes. Now, there are other presentations, not as common, but sometimes there's a persistent swelling of the breast, redness of the breast, scaling around the nipple or the areolar region, for example. And bloody nipple discharge is one of the things that we see from time to time. But let's go back. Majority of women early on will have no symptoms, they will have no signs. And that is why screening, especially with mammography, is so important, where you can pick up the cancer when it's in that sojourn time before it becomes clinically apparent. And if you do so, then the treatment is less aggressive and the outcomes are far much better. You did ask about prostate cancer. Prostate cancer, there's a similar thing whereby prostate cancer, when that presents clinically, it's often very late. Breast cancer, the breasts are external. You can actually palpate them, and sometimes you can find a lump relatively early. In prostate cancer, as men, we can't feel our own prostates. And so, if something is going on with it, very often we do not know until it's causing some symptoms. Typically with the urinary tract, we're having difficulty passing the urine and that sort of thing. But when it comes on to prostate cancer and symptoms, oftentimes when the symptoms develop, it's maybe back pain because the cancer spread somewhere, other bone pain, real difficulty passing urine and that sort of thing. So we recommend that men, once you're above 40, you should start getting a prostate check. But 40, 45, which will include rectal examinations, blood tests, that sort of thing, to check and see what's going on with your prostate gland. So recommend screening for prostate cancer in men at that age as well.
So 40, big number.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
40, 45, that's the recommendation.
Got it. I just want to pause here, Doc, in thanking you and to announce the winner of our giveaway just now, Latoya Silvera. Congratulations. You win an Amazon gift card. Please send an email to myjncircle@jngroup.com so that we can get your prize to you. Yeah. So Doc talked a lot about the symptoms and the fact that, interestingly, oftentimes there are no symptoms up front. That is why we need to be familiar with our breasts and be familiar with our doctors so that we can get our checks as necessary. Yeah. So Janelle is going to walk us through shortly her journey and you will see the lived out, realities that Doctors Chin and Copeland are talking about. But let me jump over to Dr. Chin. Dr. Chin, talk us through what happens treatment-wise when it is that a woman or a man is diagnosed with breast cancer. What are the typical treatment, types? You're muted, Doc. Talking up a storm and muted.
Well, I said good evening again, Kamala and everyone. Thanks for having me. So what is the treatment for breast cancer? Well, let's start from the start. The first thing is to diagnose it. As Dr. Copeland said, women may be diagnosed either before there are any symptoms. There's no lump, but she, as we recommend at age 40, started doing her annual screening mammogram. Something is found, or sometimes even before 40. And I want to highlight that point, that younger women do unfortunately get diagnosed with breast cancer. So we can't ignore any abnormality that's found in the breast. Women must get comfortable with their breasts, examine them every month, figure out the time around the menses that's best to examine, and learn what is normal. So if anything abnormal is felt, even if she's 25 years old or 30, it has to be checked out. Many times it will be nothing serious, it will not be cancer. But we don't want to miss the one time that it needs to be dealt with seriously.
Yes.
So breast awareness is what I really want to push, because we talk about screening and mammogram when you're 40, yes, but even before that age, be aware. So something abnormal is found. What is the next step? You should go to usually your family doctor. So you should develop a good relationship and say, doc, there's something that's abnormal. Or if it's during your regular routine exam, something abnormal is found, the next step is usually some kind of imaging, whether a mammogram, an ultrasound, to find out, is this something that we need to investigate further, which usually would involve a biopsy, which is taking a small amount of cells or tissue from the lump, if there's a lump found, to figure out, is this really cancer, or is it something that's not cancerous or benign? Mm-hmm. If cancer is diagnosed, and I know Janelle and the people who are here who have had that waiting period, I know it's very, an anxious period where you're waiting on the biopsy result because you just don't know, and we're praying and hoping that it's not cancer. But if it comes back, it's a start of something that needs to be done. There's a lot of fear, I know, and some women never come back for that result. They don't want to, they're in denial and say, no, it can't be. So, it's important to find out what it is, because we can do things about it. So the first thing is to figure out, is it cancer? And if it's yes, then you may see me, you may see Dr. Copeland. I'm a medical oncologist, and there's an important role for the different types of specialists in breast cancer management. We talk about surgery, which we're trying to cure. So that's a very important part. Often giving medications in the vein, such as chemotherapy, or even sometimes tablet therapy, targeted therapies, depending on the kind of breast cancer is done. Radiation sometimes is part of the treatment as well. So the treatment is very individualized according to each patient. So I always tell my patients, not because, your mother's friend or your auntie or, somebody you heard about had this kind of treatment, it's not the same treatment for every woman or man, as Doc said. So it has to be individualized. But the general things are giving you some medications, whether by mouth or in the vein, to get rid of the cancer cells, surgery, whether removal of the breast or the lump, to get rid of that cancer. And of course, if radiation is part of it as well, that could be part of the management. So many different prongs to management.
Several different possibilities there, yeah?
Yes.
But now I want to make some space for Janelle to share her story. Janelle, please walk us through what it was like hearing, getting back the results to say that this is in fact cancer. I think you're muted as well. Yes, you're muted.
Good evening again, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. So Kamala, to answer your question, my journey started back in 2018. Whereby I discovered that I have a breast discharge or a nipple discharge coming from my right breast, which was alarming because, it's not normal for that to be happening if you're not breastfeeding, right? Prior to that, a few years prior to that, I was breastfeeding, and I remember my daughter did not want to have anything to do with that breast, so I was just thinking that maybe it's an infection that I had developed over time. I don't know if that theory makes sense, but that was in my head, that it's just it's just an infection that was going on. So I went to my gynecologist and he recommended me to a surgeon, and went to the surgeon and got some lab tests done. The results came back inconclusive. And so he decided that he was going to do a lumpectomy, right? So we scheduled a lumpectomy and got that done. That's just like a minor surgery where they remove some of the tissues for analysis, right? So that took about 2 weeks or maybe more for the results to come back. And I remember I was at work and he called me and said that I needed to come in to get the results. I hesitated because, I'm at work, I'm busy. I didn't want to just get up and go there. So I hesitated. It took me about another 2 weeks to go back to him to get the results. And he sat me down and he said that the results came back from the lumpectomy, and he didn't want to say this, but it is a stage 0 breast cancer. I never know that you have stage 0 breast cancer. It's like, I did not know that was possible. So, my world stopped right there. But he said to me that I'm in a good spot now because it is just within the milk duct. So it's really precancerous cells. It's within the milk duct and it's not yet invasive. So it's not yet in the tissues or in my lymph node or anything like that. So I was hopeful, even though I was, worried and I couldn't process the information. But because he said that it's a 0, I'm thinking that, oh, maybe it's, simple. It's something simple for me to get rid of. He suggested, though, that I should get a mastectomy done to get rid of it. But hearing that I have breast cancer, stage 0 breast cancer, I couldn't process that. And for him to tell me that I need to get a mastectomy done, I could not process that either. So I was not in agreement with that. And so he was insistent, no other test done, he just wanted to get that done. So I wanted a second opinion. I went back to my gynecologist and I explained what was happening, cried my heart out, and, just let him know how I was feeling and that I needed a second opinion. He then referred me to another surgeon, went to this surgeon, and he had some additional tests done. He wanted me to get some tests done before he made any concrete decisions about what's happening. So I did an MRI scan, I did a genes test, and I also did an ultrasound. All of those tests came back saying that I am good. Nothing was shown. Nothing is seen. I am okay. By this time as well, the discharge had disappeared. So I was just thinking that this is a miracle. The lumpectomy probably, in fact, it in fact worked. And so I was just happy. And this is it for me. I didn't want to have anything else to do with it. So he said that we're going to monitor it. And so I should come back in the next 6 months and we can do some other testings just to make sure that everything is okay. So the 6 months came, this is still 2018, 6 months came, I did an ultrasound, I am fine. Another 6 months came, did ultrasound, I am fine. So 2019, I am okay. 2020, I am okay. And then fast forward now to January of this year, 2021, is when I noticed that I started having physical changes to the breast. So I noticed that I had a little itch. When I itched, the skin flaked. I also saw that the nipple got a little bit inverted, like it was flat, looked way different from the other one. And so I'm wondering what is happening now. The whole breast just felt a little bit firm and looked different from the other breast. So I was quite concerned now, and I'm thinking, okay, I've heard breast cancer before. Could this really be it? Is this really it for me? How am I going to handle this? And so I didn't hesitate. I didn't procrastinate. I made my appointment, went back to the surgeon and showed him what was happening, explained what was happening. And he sent me to do a mammogram as well as an ultrasound. Did those, and the results still came back showing that I am okay. And so he decided that no, he's going to have to do a needle biopsy. So he did the needle biopsy, and it came back to say that I do have breast cancer, invasive breast cancer. So now it's in the tissue, and it's in a few of my lymph nodes under my arm, under the underarm area, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my journey coming from 2018, to now. Yeah.
That must have been even increased frustration for you, just based on the varying things that you were hearing and just the uncertainty anxiety about where you were landing medically. And Janelle,
Yes.
I want you to share what your age was at the time of diagnosis, because
yes.
as doctors were saying earlier, 40, even though 40 is considered to be that standard age where we start vigilant with the imaging, etc. Many women are diagnosed under the age of 40. How old were you, Janelle?
At the time, I was 32. So when I was diagnosed, I was just 5 days away from my birthday, from my 33rd birthday. So yeah, pretty young, wasn't expecting it. And that's what I'm trying to get out there as well, that, you know, younger women are being diagnosed. And so we need to know our bodies and we need to know what is happening, because I didn't have a lump. So I didn't have the lump to work with and say, oh, you know, something is there. You know, so you have to get to know so that when the changes come, you can just attack it right away.
And jump on it. And I just want to hear, some people may know, some don't, that I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 30. And I'm still under 40, and that was many years back. So just to say to us that it literally can happen as long as you have breasts. I believe that puberty, you know, once it is that you have, you know, breasts, it's important to be vigilant and to become more aware of what's happening with your breast tissue. I want to jump over to Dr. Chin. I see her nodding vigorously, right? And I see Dr. Copeland very attentive as well. But Dr. Chin, talk us through some of the things that people need to be asking their doctors, because Janelle's story raises some points of curiosity for me. And just I want the persons who are here today to leave with some understandings of what is important information to get. And if you're not getting it, what you need to ask and insist that you get on this journey to getting, you know, getting well.
Good question. I think Janelle actually highlighted quite a bit of it. If something is abnormal, check it out. And if you're reassured, because sometimes that happens, unfortunately, because the woman is young, don't think, oh, you know, it's all right, it's normal. If it seems abnormal, it needs to be investigated and figured out. And I think every person, every patient has that right to find out what it is. As she said, it is, you know, in pregnancy and breastfeeding, things can happen with the breast which are not cancer. And most times it won't be, that's the truth. But sometimes we do have breastfeeding or pregnancy associated breast cancer. So again, vigilance. And if it doesn't seem right, get it checked out. Janelle, I understand the difficulty when she was told, you know, well, you need to have a mastectomy. That's a very big decision for any woman and a very young woman. So I think having the conversation and being open with your oncologist is important. Not every treatment is right for every patient. We always recommend what's best, but we always have to remember the issues behind it. You know, it's major surgery, if it's chemotherapy, all these things are major treatments which can have side effects and so on. But we always try to do our best. I think that conversation sometimes is very reassuring. So, you know, communication is important, being open, feeling free to ask those questions. You know, what are the treatments? Janelle mentioned stage. I get that question a lot because people want to know what stage. And I think thanks to Dr. Google and looking up things, sometimes I always tell people, be careful, because when you look up something, it might not be your particular case. So ask about your case. What is happening with me, doctor? What is my stage? What did the results show? What does this mean? What treatments do I need? What investigations do I need? Because it's your right ultimately. And I think we are past the stage where, you know, doctors tell you what to do. I think we have to discuss it and say, this is what I recommend because, and this is what the science shows. So let's try to work towards this. But there's a lot of, you know, sometimes not compromise to a certain extent with our patients, because some people are just not ready to make that leap, and you have to walk very slowly beside them and hold a hand. But that's what's important, I think, to reassure that, you know, this is where we are and this is where we want to be. How can we get there? And let's try hard and do this thing together.
Well said, Doc. And I love that piece, especially about the open communication channels, because the fact of the matter is that many of us either have a black market medical degree or none at all. We buy it off Google or we don't have none. So we're coming to the experts, and sometimes there is that barrier and intimidation in terms of, well, I don't even know the right things to ask. So it's a very important relationship, especially with something like cancer in my mind. So thank you for that. And Janelle, so many commendations and big ups and love and, just love coming out in the chat for you sharing your story. I see Skatta bigging you up, and I see, of course, your BFF, sister-in-law, Basilia, just sharing so much encouragement for you. Dr. Copeland, in your experience, what are some of the things that are very present in the lives of those who are unfortunately at this time managing both COVID and cancer? What do you want people who are watching who may be experiencing this journey on the cancer treatment journey right now in a pandemic? What are some of the things that you want them to be mindful of?
It's a really good question. And there are a lot of women who, one, either have been diagnosed with cancer or currently are undergoing breast cancer treatment, might be survivors or currently undergoing the therapy. And what we tell them is not to delay their cancer management, whether it be active treatment or surveillance, because of the current pandemic. One of the things that we've found is that a lot of women have been delaying getting mammograms done, whether it is screening mammograms or surveillance mammograms. They've not gone out and gotten these things done. Some studies have shown that over 50 to 80% in some populations have had decreased breast cancer screening rates. The likely result of that is maybe in a few years' time, we're going to see an uptick in cancers being diagnosed at a slightly more advanced stage. In Jamaica, we already see patients being diagnosed at quite an advanced stage compared to North American and European countries. So, we can't afford that. So we advise our patients, do not delay your breast cancer screening, your breast cancer surveillance, or any aspects of your breast cancer treatment. We've seen patients who have actually not been vaccinated, who have come down with COVID, and then you end up having to delay their surgical therapy for weeks, which again, makes their cancer diagnosis outcome, far worse. Mm-hmm. So the take-home point is, even in the midst of the pandemic, you should not delay your breast cancer management, whether it is screening, surveillance, or treatment. We've also seen patients who have, unfortunately had the virus and have passed from the virus while having breast cancer. The breast cancer was actually quite treatable and curable, but they passed away from the coronavirus. And also to the caregivers, we tell the caregivers as well, you are taking care of cancer patients. It is important, you are that source of strength, financial support and other things as well. And we advise them, because of that close contact, that they should also ensure that they are also vaccinated. So that would be my message, to them.
That's I never even knew about even the implication, the possible implications for delaying what we might end up seeing. So thank you for giving such a, an informative response as well. Dr. Chain, jumping over to you. What would you want to add to that in terms of what we have to be mindful of managing cancer and COVID?
Yeah, it's challenging. Managing cancer was always challenging, of course. And then when COVID hit, there's so many questions. Do we vaccinate if somebody has underlying cancer, if they're on chemotherapy, if they recently had treatment? Are we supposed to be vaccinating? We know the immune system is not responding as well as it should. But all studies have shown that patients who have cancer or even are on active chemotherapy, there is still some benefit from vaccination. The immune system might not fire as much as in somebody who is not on what we call immunosuppressive treatment. So those are the persons in whom we have to get that second dose in if it's a 2-dose vaccine, and a booster shot is now recommended for even some vaccines in this particular patient setting. So it's really very few cases of cancer who have had like stem cell transplantation, things that are not usual, who the rule is, do not give the vaccine right now, wait a few months. Most people, the risk of having severe COVID is much higher. Having cancer or being on chemotherapy doesn't increase the risk of having vaccine-associated side effects, which I think is what some people fear. It actually does not. It's just that the vaccine may not be as effective. But if you can protect yourself somewhat, it's much better than not being protected at all against a virus that we know can, be serious and cause deaths, especially in people with underlying conditions. So screening should continue. In the initial days, we know a lot of people weren't going out, everybody was afraid, but I think people are coming out more now. So start back your regular screening, doing your doctor's visits. Some of us started doing, teleconsultations or video consults, but sometimes just going out is helpful as well. Managing cancer in the pandemic, the other thing which I know scared people a lot initially was this whole thing about social distancing. When you have cancer is not the time that you want to be socially distant. That's when you need your support team around you. So I remember I always said, I don't like the term social distancing. Physical distancing, yes. Obviously, you don't want to be in somebody's space with the risk of COVID. But having a diagnosis of cancer, I always ask my patients, who's your support team? Because that is when you need the social support, even if the physical distance is necessary. Somebody to call in, somebody to check if you're not feeling great, to make sure that you have that support. Because your mindset, helps you to get through treatment, which can be pretty intensive. So not social distancing, but physical distancing, as we talk about COVID, is important, and vaccinations for both the patient and her caregivers as well.
Very important. Thank you so much for that, Doc. I like how you're all just making it so real, right? And also bringing the medicine into reality, because sometimes it kind of gets lost in translation, the 5-syllable words and, the acronyms, and sometimes people are literally lost. I really appreciate both of you this evening for making it come alive for us. And Janelle is sitting here, who has been living it, has been walking through it. Janelle, what would you say has been the impact of support, especially in these very weird and unprecedented times as you went through treatment?
I have the best support system, I must say. From beginning to end, the support from beginning until now, the support has been really amazing. I guess a lot of persons will know by now, my sister-in-law has been there holding my hand through it all. And, I really appreciate her for that. She's been here at all of I have weekly treatments, and she leaves Mandeville to be here with me every week to those treatments. So, the support is just amazing. My mother and my mother-in-law, they're not able to be here physically, but I'd mentioned before that every morning when I wake up, I can guarantee an inspirational message on my phone, a missed call, something, just to make me know that I'm not alone. So support is very important. It helps me, well, for me, it helps me to get through the journey much easier. And I encourage that for anyone, if it's even one person, you need somebody to talk to, because sometimes you want to just release what is inside, so yeah, support for me is very important at this time.
Has been crucial. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but can we all just big up some blue and yellow hearts in the chat for Janelle, who actually completed chemotherapy last week or Wednesday. I remember what it felt like, Janelle. So I was overwhelmed with emotions when I saw the pictures from your last chemo visit. So I'm so grateful that you're at this stage and just holding up faith and hope that you will get through the other aspects of it, and that you will come out just continuing to beam and shine as you are now.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, and I must say, my co-workers as well, I can't leave them out. Since I'm doing a big up right now. Yeah, they have been there for me as well. And I really appreciate it. Some days I'm really tired and I feel like, I just want to stay in bed. Well, I don't really stay in bed because I'm not sick, but, they whatever I ask them to just finish up for me or to get done, they do it for me. In a heartbeat. So I'm thankful for them as well. My cousins and persons my friends, persons I haven't heard from in a while reached out to me, and I'm really grateful for that. So support is really important. It really helps me to get through it.
Yeah, and right now, Janelle, the chat full of blue and yellow hearts. So the love and support is standing there.
There we go. There we go.
For you. Janelle, I know you just finished chemo like exactly 1 week ago. Have you had a chance to contemplate vaccination? Where are you at in that journey as well?
I have been contemplating it. Dr. Sherry Chin is my oncologist. So I'm just getting that out there. Yeah, I've spoken to her about it a couple of times, and she recommended that I should get it. But personally, I wasn't comfortable. Even though it's recommended. And she's the expert. I still wasn't comfortable in getting it. I guess because of just everything I've been hearing about it. But I am open for it. I'm definitely gonna get it as soon as my body starts feeling a little bit stronger, because I was just concerned about chemo breaking down my system and if I do the vaccine, I don't know what the side effects would. If I got the vaccine, I don't know what the side effects would be. So I was just concerned about that, skeptical about that even. So as soon as I'm feeling better, I will be getting it.
You're on top of it.
Excellent.
Thank you all so much. I know that Dr. Chin, I think, had another a time constraint for this evening session. I want to thank Dr. Copen and Dr. Chin and definitely Janelle for sharing so openly and so informatively with us this evening about cancer and COVID. I want to offer the two doctors a chance to just drop in a last word, perhaps, for anyone who may be currently going through and or their support systems. What would you want to say to them in these very abnormal times? Dr. Chin, you first.
Thanks. Support counts for a lot. Janelle said it best, I think. She has walked the walk and she knows how important it is. And from my side, I can tell the difference when patients are going through a lot and they have that support. You can't discount it. Everybody's different, so not everybody will necessarily come on screen and talk about it. You know, always remember, you are you. It's an individualized journey. So just don't take, what somebody else went through. I think that's the biggest mistake people make, because everybody has advice. Sometimes the advice is, they mean well, people mean well, but they may just not know what to say or what to advise. So take everything, be thankful that people mean well, but you can't listen to everybody. So choose wisely, as you said, what your sources are, and just make sure the trust is there, and your support system in every way, medical support, but especially at home, your caregivers and so on will help you to get through.
Excellent. And Dr. Chin, please prepare to respond to this next question for our audience. What are some of the types of screenings that are available to persons? But hold that thought. Let me jump over to Dr. Lund. Doc, what would you want to leave with our audience members this evening about cancer, COVID in these times?
No, I agree with what Dr. Chin has said, and Janelle, she really laid it out in terms of her experience and what she went through. So I agree, support is extremely important. I always encourage the patients as well that they are the ones that are in charge. So they you have to take their lead, and all decisions that we have to make with the patients are shared decision making, including the caregivers as well. But we encourage, the patients to take that lead despite all the advice and everything else that they're going to get. But I'll just say this as well for the caregivers. We encourage the caregivers also to take care of themselves. Yes. Because many times, they can be fatigued, they are being bombarded, they have to do research, they have to do all the organization and so forth. And sometimes you ask the caregivers, patient, their family member, their loved one might have, breast cancer, for example, and you ask them, have you done a mammogram? And they will tell you, oh, they haven't gotten time, they haven't gotten around to it, and that sort of thing. So we encourage our caregivers to also take care of themselves and also get their screening done, get their time away, have their breaks for their mental health and that sort of thing as well. So, that's the only thing I would add, that the caregivers also need to take care of themselves while they're offering that support.
Mm-hmm. Excellently said. And my mind goes to you and Dr. Copen and Dr. Brown in terms of you all taking care of yourselves as well, in managing all the multiplicity of things that come at you at this very strange time as well, especially for Dr. Brown, who is in the COVID front line, serving in that very intense, call it a battle at this time. So we want to put that out there as well. So Doc, you are going to be sharing some things with us, Dr. Chin, that will be helping us to give away our next prize. So please tell us what are some of the common screening tools that are available, and then I'll pause and then give away towards the end of the session.
Okay, so let me speak so that everybody can try to win the prize. So for breast cancer, screening involves the examination we spoke about. So, breast examination, which can be by your self-examination, or by the doctor when you visit clinical breast examination. But that will only feel something that's abnormal to a certain size. So in terms of screening by imaging or testing, mammogram or mammography is still the way to go. There are other things that are done in addition to mammograms. For example, breast ultrasounds, depending on how the breast look on mammogram. Sometimes the radiologist can't see so clearly just because of the tissue or the density of the breast. So an ultrasound can sometimes be used, but mammogram would be the first thing, definitely. For some women, sometimes if women are diagnosed young or have a family history of breast cancer or other cancers, we wonder if there's a reason, something hereditary, if they got a gene, inherited a gene from one of their parents, whether mother or father. In those women, if we do that testing and identify there's a high risk gene, MRI of the breast can be done because that actually shows even more than a mammogram can show. So it would be mammogram first, but sometimes we do an ultrasound or MRI of the breast, depending on, you know, how high risk the woman is at developing breast cancer and how much we need to follow the breast as we monitor her throughout life.
Mhm. Excellent, excellently done. So for all of you who are listening and want to win the other Amazon gift card, we've heard several types of screening. And I remember I think it was Dr. Copeland who spoke about the fact that sometimes it's not palpable. Sometimes the mass isn't palpable, meaning that you can't feel it, right? So we still need to be vigilant. And I know somebody had asked a question earlier about whether or not younger women are able to access mammograms now, because I think some doctors, correct me if I'm wrong, will require certain things before they go ahead and give you a requisition for a mammogram if you're under a certain age, correct?
Yeah, so initially it used to be age 50 that we started saying, yes, you know, mammograms have the most benefit for older women. It moved down a bit to 45, but we know that in Jamaica, because breast cancer is diagnosed at a fairly young age compared to elsewhere in the world, about a third of our women are diagnosed before age 55. So that's young. Ages, you know, 35, 40, 45. We definitely do recommend screening mammogram, and any doctor can write the request. So I don't think places are insisting as much, oh, if you're not 50, you can't have a mammogram. Certainly by age 40 and definitely age 45, that discussion has to be had with your family doc or gynae or whoever you see regularly. Can I start doing my yearly mammograms for screening?
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Copeland, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm in full agreement that, you know, at age 40, we should be starting that discussion for mammographic screening. Yes, we see breast cancer at a younger age in Jamaica. And not only that, breast cancer in our younger women tends to be more aggressive. So oftentimes, you know, when you look at the biology of the tumor, it's a more aggressive type of breast cancer. And so delaying screening, you know, is not good in our population. Very often we may extrapolate from, you know, data from overseas, but when we look at our local population of women, we need to start screening at age 40. That definitely should be a discussion then. Annual screening is what we recommend at that age. Now, when you get a bit older, there's a discussion that you can perhaps transition to every other year. I mean, biennially at about age 55. But certainly between 40 and say 54, you should be doing annual mammography. And that's the only way we're going to significantly decrease, you know, the breast cancer death rate in our country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm waiting to see if Dr. Brown is back on, because we're going to go back to answering a couple more questions because the chat box is still buzzing before we close out our session just on the vaccine and issues of COVID specifically before we say good evening. But I want to just offer the opportunity to Janelle to share anything that you want to offer to women who may be going through the journey. I was diagnosed October 18, in the middle of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. To any such woman who's going through, what are the words you would want to leave with her at this time?
So I'd say just be positive about it. I mean, this is hard. It's hard to digest a diagnosis such as this one, but you have to find some way to be positive about it and know that it's temporal. I don't know. It's just a journey. You'll get over it one day if you look at it that way. So just take things a step at a time and a day at a time. Don't focus on the whole staircase. Just take the steps and, you know, do what you're supposed to do. Because if you look at the whole journey, it can be scary, frightening. You know, it can really cause you to be depressed. So just take things a day at a time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. You'll be okay. And I believe that I'm going to be okay. So I'm believing for you as well that you will be okay.
Thank you for sharing your
Before I go, I want to say that my husband has been really supportive. I noticed I didn't say anything. right? But he's been really supportive, you know, the best husband ever. He does my errands for me because I do not go out. I am afraid of COVID, right? And even my 9-year-old daughter, she's been there. She rubs my head. She tells me everything is gonna be fine. Even tonight, she is reassuring me that I'm going to be okay and I should not worry. So I'm just throwing that in there. All right,
Mr.
so-
Barnaby, sir, big up your nice, clean self. And we are grateful for the amazing support that you gave to our beautiful warrior sister as well. Thank you so much. All right. So feel free to stay right there on stage with us. Let me just bring on back Skatta and Dr. Brown so that we can respond to some more questions. Dr. Brown, you good? What do you say?
I'm here.
Wonderful. There's a question here about Pfizer and its harmfulness or lack of harmfulness to children. And the question is, if yes, is it children with comorbidities that it would harm? So that's the Pfizer vaccine specifically. Any thoughts on that, Doc?
Well, the thing is, right? If anyone has a condition in which they are, as you say, immunocompromised to a point where anything new that's introduced into the body, there is not an adequate immune system to fight it, they will have adverse reactions. So if it is a child who is already very ill, they will have severe reactions to any vaccine, Pfizer or any other brand. However, if it is a healthy child, they would just experience the expected mild reactions that's expected in any of these vaccines. So if you're asking about the safety of giving it, and as long as the child is of normal health, it is okay to give that child the vaccine.
Got it. Thank you so much, Doc. Another question here. What about someone who is Rh negative? Which of the vaccine is recommended?
So the rhesus negative population, any other vaccine is recommended as well. The relationship between that antigen, I believe the person has some knowledge based on how the question is. The relationship with that antigen and what the vaccine produces, they do not interrelate at all. So you can take any of the vaccines if you are rhesus negative as well.
Got it. Do we have any other questions that anybody wants to drop on the in the chat box? Please go ahead, or the Q&A, or raise your hand so that we can identify you. You can come on microphone and we can have one of our doctors respond as well. Another question, Doc. I contracted COVID, the person says. My doctor recommended that I wait 6 months and take only 1 shot. What are your views, they ask?
I would have to ask if this person has any comorbidities, why the doctor would recommend 6 months. But after 6 weeks to 2 months, you're okay if you are normal health in this individual to go ahead and take the vaccine. So that's a recommendation. 6 weeks to 2 months, you can go ahead and take. But if this person was severely ill or they have underlying conditions which would have made their recovery a longer period than the normal individual, then they would have probably extended the time before they go ahead and take the vaccine.
Okay. So Doc, I see another question here. I think we have some feedback. Another question here that I think would be very much relevant to Dr. Chin and or Copeland. Someone says, at what age do you stop doing a mammogram, Doc? Something goes up?
Good question. So we spoke about what age we should start. Generally, most women, and again, this is very individualized, but most women by around age 75, it probably is reasonable to stop doing mammograms. That being said, we know we have some 75-year-old women who, based on, their life expectancy, they don't have any major illnesses. When you ask what age their, mother or aunts passed, they have some long living genes, and they're probably, we expect them to be around until their 90s. It might be reasonable to continue doing mammograms in those women. So again, I would say, I believe screening should be personalized and individualized, but generally by age 75, we do stop. That being said, we have older women who are diagnosed with breast cancer. So women still have to be very aware of the breast, even at age 80 or 85. We do have patients, who are that age. We still need to be very, very breast vigilant.
Understood. Thank you so much. And Merida Smith, is asking again, how often should a mammogram be taken? Dr. Copeland, you want to just reinforce that for us? How often should a mammogram be taken?
Right. So we speak about the screening in average risk women, and we start mammographic screening at age 40. Now, we find that in younger women, like I said, they tend to have more aggressive cancers, and you have this thing that we call interval cancers that can develop in between the times that you screen. So the longer time that you take to screen is the more likely that you can have these interval cancers developing. What you find is that women who are premenopausal, they have a greater likelihood of having these interval cancers. So under age 55, the recommendation is that we screen annually, every year. When you get to age 55, there's the option to do it every other year. You may continue to screen annually, and very often we do, especially based on that patient's risk factors, family history, and that sort of thing. But there's an option to go every other year after 55. So start at 40, annually up to age 54. You may continue annually after that, all the way up to age 75, or you may switch to every other year.
All right, thank you so much for that, Doc. Anisha says, how soon after you are tested positive for COVID can you take the vaccines? I think we touched on it, but Dr. Brown?
6 weeks is the minimum required time after you have cleared the virus from the system. You can go ahead and take the vaccine. 6 weeks.
6 weeks, all right. So I think you've done a good job of clearing most of the questions that we have. Here comes another one for Doctors Chin and Copeland. I have lumps in the breast for the past 33 years and it's uncancerous. I did a surgery already in the right breast, removing a lump.
So, it will all depend on the type of lesion that she has in the breast. That was very, very likely you have a lump in the breast for 30-something years. That's not cancerous in and of itself. However, it would be very interesting to find what the biopsy showed. Now, there are some lesions in the breast that we call them, it's a bit technical, but we call them non-proliferating lesions. So they will not develop and does not really increase your risk of developing breast cancer. There are other lesions that are proliferative lesions and actually slightly increase the risk long-term of developing breast cancer. Doesn't mean that that person in and of themselves will develop breast cancer. When you look at the relative risk compared to the average person in the population, there is some slight increased risk. It all depends on the type of lesion, actual biopsy, if you had any biopsy done, and that will tell us more about the type of lesion, if it's proliferative or not. If it is proliferative, there's an increased risk of developing breast cancer. Moderately so, maybe about 1.5 to 2 times the risk, depending on the type of lesion that is there.
Okay, thank you for that, Doc. So we are about 8 minutes out from closing time, and we have to give away something again because it's JN Life class, right? And hashtag JN Cares. So while Skatta is going to be coming back into center stage to share with us his final words of wisdom or challenge, right? To those who are watching regarding taking care of themselves, taking precautions, and taking the vaccine, I'm going to put out the question that can allow persons to win the second Amazon gift card for this evening's class. And the question is, I hope you were listening to Drs. Chin and Copeland earlier. The question is, other than mammography or having a mammogram, list one other type of screening that women can do for breast cancer. And tech team, over to you, because everybody wants to shop on Amazon tonight, right?
Brilliant class, man. Brilliant.
Class is buzzing. You have gone through a difficult experience, but a really beautiful transformation,
Yes.
due to your experience. What would you want to leave as a 1 or 2, words of encouragement or a tip for those who are listening, who are still kind of on the borderline, not sure how to proceed?
Do your research and listen to the professionals, the persons who have invested majority of their adult lives into medicine and science, and do not listen to these persons who overnight seem to be so intelligent. I'm in the business of music, and I can give opinions on music, and I can know that I'm at least 90% certain of the information I dispel. Now, for me not to be a part of the medical or the scientific industry, none whatsoever, and all of a sudden I'm picking up hearsays and so forth, and then putting it out there as a public figure, I am doing a huge injustice to people, you know, and especially people who are public figures who have a huge following and people look up to. You have a right to dispel correct information and not mislead people, especially in an informational technological age as this. The things you put out, they're very effective on society. So you have to strive to put out the positive and the correct information every time. And not for me to take on the role of a doctor or anything. We have to leave it to the professionals. And if you're not sure, do some research, but do not come and speak of things you're not sure of. And because you'll be surprised to see how many, I hate to say ignorant people, but there's a lot of ignorance floating around, and it is being gobbled up and ate up and being fed back to each and every. It is even spreading far further than the realities and the just information, you know. They say that just information is the one that is not loud and barking at us, but it is there. And we cannot allow ignorance to rule, especially in a chaotic time when we're supposed to be banding together, you know. So I'm just asking everyone, every individual, to look in themselves and ask themselves a question: am I against all of these policies being implemented by the medical sector, the government, and the watchdogs because of things that I know, or because am I being led, or I'm just following someone? You have to speak and acknowledge your truth and lead by that, you know, and that's the most honest opinion I can impart on anybody. Don't be a follower. If you're not a leader, at least be honest enough to say that I don't know, and you're willing to find out. And before I go, I just want to say respect to the doctors, to Mr. Copeland, Ms. Chin, Mr. Brown, and Miss Janelle Barnaby. I applaud you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. I am going to encourage all the females in my family and the ones I love to go and get tested, because I cannot imagine what your family is going through and sticking with you. I applaud them all, you know, so we just have to help each other. Thank you very much.
And Skatta, we applaud you right back. Spoken like a wise man. Thank you so much for saying yes. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and honest. And I love your final point. I'm not an expert. I'm an expert in psychology, not in anything else, right? So we have to let the experts like Dr. Brown, Drs. Chin and Copeland do their work. And we can also do our part to get more information, ask questions, and be open to getting the information from them. I could not leave Life Class without giving you some resources from our JN team. So importantly, if you want to get immunized, if you want to get the vaccine, and we hope that everybody who has not yet done so will want to after this evening's class, then in Westmoreland, the JN Foundation has a site. Petersfield Primary School is going to be the vaccination blitz site. The dates are October 29 and 30 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. All right, so Petersfield, those of you who are in the West, Petersfield Primary is the place to go, and on October 29 and 30 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now, this is only part one of a three-part series, in this Life Class special feature to help us to manage, you know, decision-making and relationships that are being fractured based on, you know, vaccine and anti-vaccine, whatever it is. So please come back next week, Wednesday. And the other week, Wednesday, we have more amazing guests. We have excellent factual information for you and a space that's non-judgmental for us to air out our concerns in a respectful way, in a kind way, and in a solution-focused way. So next week, Wednesday, and the week after, please come back again. Until then, take care of your good self, walk good. And I'm going to give the final word to Dr. Brown, who has done an amazing job this evening of walking us through the facts in a respectful and kind, you know, and responsible way this evening. Doc, final words to our viewing audience.
Final words is we all have our freedom, but freedom was actually paid for long ago, and so we should treat it with the care and the preciousness of what it is. And so we have a responsibility when we're free to do that which is best for us, for those who to come. And we're a democracy, so therefore we elect leaders to lead in times. And so let's just follow the leaders that we chose. And they are the ones who are making decisions that will impact us. And you and you alone of yourself must decide what are you going to do to help the global community. So I agree with Mr. Burrell. Get some information, dispel the facts from the fiction, and make informed, educated choices that can impact not only you, but the global society as a whole. So thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you as well. And our winner for this evening is Terrain Wright. Congratulations, Terrain. You won the second Amazon gift card. Happy shopping. And as usual, big up the JN group. I'm so happy to be a part of this family that is putting their money where their mouth is as it relates to offering support to the Jamaican and to Jamaica and diaspora. Thank you all. Until next week, Wednesday, and the other week, Wednesday, walk good, take care of yourselves, and be well. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Jay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Care.
Care,
Great,
everybody.
Skatta.
Hi. Hi. Hi, Peyton. Take care of yourselves, people.
Okay, bye.
Be well.
Bye, Kamala.